Well, hello there. If you are someone who is building a coaching business in the online space, then this one today is for you. We are talking about why giving advice is actually setting your clients up for failure. What are you talking about, Jen? We're going to dive into 3 key reasons why this is the least effective, in fact, the worst way to be showing up as a coach. When we look at the coaching world, one of the things that a lot of people are doing is giving advice. In fact, a lot of reasons why so many brilliant people are not stepping forward as coaches is because they believe they have to know everything before they start. And they believe that their entire business is going to be built around everything that they are going to be teaching. Well, when we say to ourselves that I need to know everything before I start, I want to know everything so that I could just pour into my clients, that's coming from, maybe from, at first, a seemingly abundant place. But when we are giving our clients the answers to everything, when they are inboxing you all hours of the night, and this goes for those of you in network marketing as well who are building teams, who have customers, you're getting all sorts of questions flying in all different directions in your Facebook groups, in your inbox, texting. And for a lot of coaches that I speak to, they are getting to the point where they are actually starting to feel burnt out. And they're starting to resent not only their business, but their clients because they have no boundaries with their clients. Well, why is this happening? Well, because they put themselves in a place where they wanted to be the person who answers everything. And on some level, it was coming from a place of fear and lack. I have to help them be successful, so I'm going to give them all the answers. And if they're not successful, then that means, and this is where we build a story, that means I'm not a good coach, which is absolute garbage. If you're a health coach, you're not going to go to somebody's house and follow them around and smack donuts out of their hands. If you're a business coach, you're not going to knock on someone's door and say, hey, did you do your live video today? Did you make the offer for your sales program? No, that's not how it works. And that's not what coaching is about. So when you're trying to get all the answers for people, you're trying to micromanage their success, spoon feed things to them, it's the equivalent of when you see people who have rich kids. What is the generalization around rich kids? That they're spoiled. They're spoiled and they're entitled. Because they just assume that they're going to snap their fingers and things are going to just happen around them. It's like some moms, their kids don't know how to do laundry because they just go, oh, the laundry fairy does it. It was on my floor 1 minute ago and now it's gone. Cool. And they're not seeing the behind the scenes of how that actually happened. And then they become adults and they cannot fend for themselves. Or you guys know the saying, you can give a man a fish, he can eat for a day, or you can teach him to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. So it's the same thing. When you are trying to be the advice giver, the answer getter, the be-all end-all to your clients, you are robbing them of breakthroughs. So they're not learning how to fish or fend for themselves. And what you end up doing is creating a really weird cycle of codependency. So they always kind of need you, and they're not ever really confident enough to step out on their own. And some people might say, well, that's a brilliant business model, Jen, because then you'll always have clients. Well, if you're in the game of transformation, and you're here to actually help people, then I think you would recognize that the faster you get people results, the more likely they are to send you to friends, and the larger your reach and impact can actually be. Keeping your clients small is not the path to success, and I don't think that's really what you're about. But if you're giving them all the answers and you're being the advice giver, you are keeping them small because you're not giving them a chance to learn and grow on their own. And then we kind of get into this other, so that's kind of this first piece. The second piece is I need to know everything before I start. I need to know everything before I start. I've got to be the encyclopedia of my topic. What if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer? This is one of the biggest reasons why people don't take action in their coaching businesses. And what I have to say to that is if you don't have all the answers, that's actually a great thing. Because then you won't fall into the very common trap of trying to spoon feed people information. And you'll actually be able to look beyond the question that they're asking because you don't even know the direct answer. Let me give you an example. In my coaching business, I'm a business coach, so people will say things like, where's the best place to go live? Should I go live on my business page or in my Facebook group or on my Instagram page? Well, those are really not the question. The question that they're really asking, it's like the question beneath the question and then the belief that's actually influencing that question. Right? It gets a little heady sometimes, but that's the truth. So if you're answering the surface question, you're missing what they actually want and need. And then they're just going to go off, they're going to implement a strategy, but we all know that strategies alone are not what build a business. I mean, there's thousands of people using webinars, thousands of people doing 5-day challenges, hundreds of thousands of people doing network marketing and all of these different tactics, and yet some people are really, really successful and others are flat broke. So clearly, it's not the strategies alone that are making or breaking a business, right? So that's why I want to give you that permission right now to step back and say, okay, I don't need to know absolutely everything in my topic in order to help people create a transformation. Right? And here's the other caveat here. Here's the other thing. When we are very learned in our area of expertise, we can sometimes get into that place where we want to be a know-it-all, or we get a high off of being Mr. or Mrs. Fix-It. And I actually had a conversation with someone who's in my community recently about how she was getting a secondary gain. So it's what is the real benefit that she was getting? She was able to answer all of these questions doing so many live videos for her community inside all of these different programs, like answering questions within minutes. And in this moment, she was really enjoying it. She was like, well, people are loving it. I'm getting all these testimonials. People are telling me I'm the most amazing coach they've ever had. I'm like, literally couldn't be happier. And I said, but what's the long game? How is that scalable? What does your life look like? And for all of you, you want to ask that question. Maybe you are trying to have kids. Maybe you're getting married. Maybe you just want to go and travel the world. Well, how can you have all of those things? Or maybe you're like, well, I want to write a book next year. I want to host live events. I want to become a speaker. If you're constantly in your communities being Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all, being the fix-it person, the questions answerer, how are you going to scale? So when we're looking at a coaching business, it can't be built on just your expertise. There's more to coaching than just giving advice. And what we were able to help her recognize was that her need to be in her communities 24/7 answering questions was actually, and her need to be the superstar coach was actually coming from a place of ego. It was based in ego, but it was kindness clothed in fear, clothed in lack. It was kindness and helpfulness and I'm a great coach clothed in, oh my God, what if I'm not enough? Oh my God, what if people don't think this course is valuable? Oh my gosh, what if they go and follow someone else? And all these other stories that were being created. And so yes, in some instances, a negative or lack thought can generate something that has a positive, right? Or people getting great results. But when we step back and really like, well, what does this look like in 5 years? You don't want to be all in your communities all day long. You don't want to be sitting with your spouse at dinner at date night and be looking at your phone, having anxiety about, oh my God, somebody asked a question. I have to answer it in 2 seconds. That's actually not serving people at the highest level. And it's not serving you at the highest level. And if you're not operating at your highest level, then you can't help other people. You can't pour from an empty cup. And your people, especially if you are coaching coaches or if you're network marketing, your clients, your team members are going to model your behavior. So if you are showing up in that way, they subconsciously or consciously are going to model that, or they're going to resist it because they don't want to have a business like that. Is this resonating for you guys right now? And when people are asking questions in your communities, it's really easy to just give them the rah-rah, give them a little pump up, give them encouragement. But the truth is, it doesn't impact real change if you just give someone a little quick pat on the back. Like, people sometimes need a little cheerleading and then they can go about their business. But other times when people ask questions, I'm going to give you a specific example from within my community. When people ask specific questions, oftentimes there's a lot of layers to that. So we want to really identify as a coach. Here's a little how-to piece. When someone asks a question, are they giving you the facts, or are they creating and building a story around their circumstances? And a story is just a made-up belief. So someone in my community, she was saying that she was feeling discouraged. So I look for that keyword discouraged, that she didn't get a lot of interest in something that she put out there. Interesting that she said she didn't get a lot of interest, because then she followed that with, and the people that did subscribe, so she did have interest, but she was creating an interpretation around a belief that she held. And so she said, people are not opening up my videos and watching. And it's so disheartening. I was scared to do this, and now that I've stepped out, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. Can someone please remind me that it does take time to keep going, that eventually people will come to me, and I just really need encouragement. Thanks all. And so a lot of my people in my community, they're amazing, they're lovely, they're wonderful, and they want to support everybody, and they do so dang well. And so everyone was like, you're going to be great, like it takes time, no worries, blah, blah, blah. But I wrote back and I said, you don't need encouragement. You don't need encouragement. Encouragement is temporary. Let's get to the actual cause of you feeling discouraged and disheartened. It has nothing to do with the number of people who signed up or opt in. The feeling is simply in response to a belief that you hold around how many people should be opting in order for you to deem it a success. So I was able to identify her facts versus her story. So instead of giving her an answer or giving her a strategy of like, well, instead try this next time, do this thing, I'm like, that's not the actual question, and that's not the actual problem. Do you see that? So I said, you're measuring your success on external circumstances. Quote, if X number of people opt in, I'm successful. So she maybe had 50 people opt in. Well, that wasn't successful, but if she had 100 people, that would have been a success. And we create these stories, and sometimes we're not even consciously aware of these rules that we create around what deems something a success. And then I went on to coach her a little bit more around this, giving her some additional feedback around how she could reframe that and really identify, well, what would that even look like? What if you just decided that you were successful, not because of a specific number of people opting in, because that's outside of you. That's something that you have literally no control over, right? That's like, I'm only successful if 100 people jump on my live videos. Well, you have no control over who's on your live videos, right? Sure, you can do certain strategies and promote it, but at the end of the day, that is measuring your success based on how other people show up. Like, I can only be happy when my kids get A's. Nonsense. I can only be happy when my spouse takes out the garbage. I can only be happy when I finally have a 6-figure launch. Until then, or I can only be happy when I lose 20 pounds. Until then, I'm going to be miserable and pissed off. And it sounds silly to say it in that way, but the reality is that is how the majority of people are operating. So instead of saying, I'm only successful when X, Y, and Z happens, I said, well, what if we reframe that? Let's take one step forward and say, let's shift that so that you are feeling successful based on rules that you are in control of. So I said, well, what if you decided that you were successful simply because you put something out there? Maybe it was a course, a freemium, a live video. You put it out there. That's a win. Why don't you celebrate that? Or what if you celebrated the fact that you felt really good about it? Or what if you celebrated the fact that you broke an old pattern of waiting to put something out there? And so I said, okay, that's the one step. But then we've got to go a step further. I said, so now that you understand that piece and you recognize the difference between external, something you don't control, waiting around for, like, I'm only successful when Oprah names me the next biggest thought leader. You're going to be waiting a little bit for that. And why are you putting all of your eggs and all of your belief in yourself and all of your feelings of success onto something you cannot control? So we can take that power back and say, well, I'm successful based on things that I've decided for myself. And I said, what if we went a step further and said, I feel successful because I'm me, just for being me? What if we just decided that? All of these are beliefs. All of these beliefs. Every single one of them is your own creation. So if all of these are beliefs, then you can change these beliefs and make new decisions about how you want to feel so that you can feel happier more of the time and sad and pissed off and lonely and discouraged and powerless less of the time. And when you start to recognize that all of these things, where we have a circumstance, right? And you guys will see this in your clients no matter what niche you're in. Like, let's look at business coaching. I'll have 2 people come into my Pitch to Your Niche community. That's my paid community. One person will say, I just had 50 people sign up for my upcoming masterclass. And another person will say, I had 50 people sign up for my masterclass. And one person will go, oh my God, I'm so excited. This is 50 lives that I'm going to be able to impact, 50 people that I'm going to close the sale with, and we're going to have an amazing time in my upcoming launch. And the other person says, I only had 50 people. Now I realize that it's not enough. And what if people don't buy? And what if people weren't really interested? And what if it wasn't a good offer in the first place? So when you're going into your communities, when you're coaching your clients, you want to recognize what things are facts and what things are the stories that they are building on top of it. And when you can make that distinction, both for yourself as a coach and for your clients, that's when you can really unlock the next level of transformation. Because if you're just constantly answering questions, giving advice, and peddling knowledge and content, are you really getting to the core of their problem? Because their problem isn't really a strategy. Strategy is like 20% of the game. Whether it's, I need a nutrition plan, that's a strategy. I need to learn how to do a webinar, that's a strategy. I need to learn how to communicate with my spouse more effectively, there may be some strategy there. But there's also the beliefs. Same thing I said before. You can have 2 people, they have the exact same strategies, webinars, challenges, network marketing, and why are some people super successful and other people flat broke? Well, what's the missing link? It's their belief system. It's the stories that they're building out of all of the day-to-day things that are happening in their lives, whether they're an entrepreneur, business owner, or not. So I just wanted to pop in and share this with you guys so that you could better understand why giving advice in your coaching business is the least effective way to create transformation, and it's actually going to kill your sales and your business down the road and probably burn you the heck out. And maybe you're already there. Maybe you've already experienced that. So if you're in a place where you're wanting to this gave you some big ahas, pass this on to somebody who needs to hear this. And if you are wanting to go even deeper in concepts like this and pieces like this where you're like, oh man, I didn't even know that was a problem in my business. I didn't even recognize prior to this video that I was headed towards some serious burnout, but now I see it plain as day. Well, if you are wanting to create more transformation for your clients, which is going to create more impact and more income in your business and effortless sales, because you give the people transformation like nobody else, you go and get referrals. You're going to get people banging down your door. That's how it works. So if you want to create that in your business so that you can have new customers, new clients, or new business builders banging at your digital doorstep, knocking on your door, hanging out in your DMs being like, hey, can I pretty please work with you? Then I want to invite you to check out my free on-demand masterclass. It breaks down my 3-part Pitch to Your Niche method, which is going to give you the map for building a profitable coaching business. And inside that program, we get in deeper into things like similar to what we talked about today. But if you're wanting a framework to really grow and scale your business, I'm telling you this webinar, this masterclass is going to give you some huge ahas. So you can go to heyjencasey.com/masterclass to go and check it out for free. And if you guys have any questions about anything we talked about today, feel free to drop your Q's below, shoot me a DM. I would love to chat with you and learn more about what you are creating in your coaching business. So that's all. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Mwah! Talk soon. Bye.